Thank you very much. Full disclosure, I do have a funny accent, and I would like to make today really interactive because there's a lot of faces here that I don't know. I'd love to network with you all, and if nothing else, even if you don't get anything out of my talk, you can at least meet some other groups or people that you might be able to set up a relationship with, and that's something I'll be focusing on today. A bit of my background. So I'm a professional marketer, and I have a very strong background in event marketing. Probably the biggest event I've helped organise was part of a team, 750 people, a 2-day overnight event, a LAN party, if anyone knows that. One of the world's biggest, and it's held in Australia every year, called RF LAN. I'm from Western Australia, so in Western Australia we have about almost 2 million people and various different groups, sort of like here, that organise science outreach events, and I helped, or I was the organiser of one of those, and helped network the other groups, because a lot of groups, they don't network, they don't talk to each other, they don't share resources. That'll be something I'll talk about today. And currently I am the marketer and on the committee for Edinburgh Skeptics. I'm also hired at the moment by Speak Easy, who are organising an event. You'll see on the table some flyers for the Edinburgh International Science Festival's Edinburgh Skeptics lineup, 8 events. I'm in charge of running those, and the upcoming event by Speak Easy that I'm running and marketing. So, a little bit about Edinburgh Skeptics. We organise 65 or so events every year. We organise 3 every month. So we've got a science talk, which is pretty stock standard, and we hold those in the Banshee Labyrinth just off the Royal Mile. We also have a cinema night in the same venue and a monthly philosophy discussion group. We also used to have other monthly events such as family socials and socials in a pub where kids weren't welcome, so you could say naughty words. We also run a science festival lineup and a full fringe lineup, 23 events back to back, a different event every night, including showcases. So if you're a science communicator and you would like to talk in front of an audience, you can go on for an hour, or you could go on for 5 or 10 minutes as part of a showcase event. We'd be really happy to have some entertaining science communicators there, and there are other people from other groups here who also run similar events. Now, I really want to stress today that marketing, a lot of people think that it's free. Social media, that's free. It's not free. It takes a time investment. And I'll be going through a lot of the things that you can spend your time on doing and hopefully get a return on your investment. The sections are, well, about me. I was hoping we'd have some time to talk about everyone in here, go around and say, hi, I'm so-and-so from this group, but we'll do that towards the end depending on time. I'll be talking about the importance of networking, how you can do it, where you can do it, and how you can track that. Where you can list your events. So not advertising, but list it. So you can list it on online sites, print media, things like that. People, so the people within your organisation and how you can get the most out of them. Your website, some of the simple changes you can make to make it easier to market your event. Social media. And finally, press releases, which not many people do these days, and they are getting diminishing returns, but I've been to a number of training events for those and learned quite a lot. So, who here thinks networking's like one of their biggest, most important things that they do? Okay, most people. In my career as a marketer in small to medium-sized businesses, I've found that's what I spend, of all the things I spend time on, probably the biggest fraction on, and I've gotten the best returns. And I've got some really great stories I don't have time to tell you tonight, but ask me later. It's really important when you meet with people to keep those relationships really strong. So meet up with them. One of my closest friends in Australia, her name is Yen. And she's also a marketer. We used to have a radio show together. Well, it was on community radio, so we had a really good following from our parents. And when she walked into a room, you'd leave her and she'd go around to every single person in that room and she'd speak to them, she'd find out their name, where they work, what they're doing, what they want to achieve. And she'd come back to you in an hour with the report and say, oh, so this person's really interesting and so is that person. I've actually put those two together. I'm going to have coffee with this person next week. She is amazing. You don't release Yen, you deploy Yen upon a room. So I try to aspire towards that, and I keep a database on a number of you in the room. Yes, here we are. So I keep a spreadsheet. Now I have printed versions here, that's stuffed up on the printer. But basically, I give up on that. Basically, I keep an eye on who you are. Actually, I'll hand this out. Can you please pass those around? And pass those around. And pass, sorry, those around. Now, I have a lovely colour version because this is colour-coded, so I can look at things in a second and see who's who and what's what. And if you have a look at the top, I've put in Edinburgh Skeptics, the type of group we are. So I'll use Ali as an example at the back. Ali, where do you work?
National Museum of Scotland.
Excellent. So, Ali, you're my contact, and I've met you a few times. So I actually write in here a few notes on Ali. This is the very top row. A few notes on him, who he is, what he does, and when I met him last. I could say, how was that holiday, to wherever next time I see you. I keep track of too many people for me to remember up here. Because I'm part of an organisation, we actually track who has spoken to whom. And so here we can see under met, ? Yes, David met at today's event. Opportunities. Well, I've already met with Ali, and I advertised one of his events recently, a Science Saturday event on the Edinburgh Skeptics Twitter and Facebook page. And I can keep track of what types of events he runs, the venues he uses, etc. I'm really interested in running joint events. Edinburgh Skeptics have run events with the University of Edinburgh Humanist Society. We got access to to some of their rooms, including the TV at Debating Hall, to run a hustings for the referendum. The referendum to leave the UK. No. Election? General election?
I think so.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm wrong. Carry on.
I was right. So, it's on record. So we got access to their venues. Other things that I've been able to share in Western Australia was one of my groups had access to a graphic designer. Another group had a printing budget, which other groups didn't have. So I keep track of those resources, and I'm really forthcoming with them. If I meet someone, such as John from the BHA? BSA, yeah. British Science Association, I can say, hey, I'd love to advertise my upcoming event. Would you mind tweeting my event in return for me doing it for you? And stuff like that. So we've done joint events, we do share resources, and that includes things like venues. So we keep a database of venues, and we're really quick to say this is a really great venue, this is got difficult accessibility if someone's in a wheelchair or something like that. We maintain our own little database. Unfortunately, it's not as up to date as I'd like, but if anyone would like to get that off me later, just ask. We keep a list of speakers we have had and speakers that we are trying to contact. It's not as easy to access in a spreadsheet like some of my other records, but I can also recommend speakeasy.org, and there is a flyer there for one of their events, and they are a startup trying to organise a database of speakers. So if you're a speaker, hands up who's an academic here who likes to do talks? Public. Ali, I know you've done some, and I see Sarah pointing at a few people. So you can register on there and you'll be listed. You can put a video there and an explanation of your talk. By the way, I'm performing Sex, Love and Marketing, How to Market Yourself on Online Dating Sites in London next month. We also share discounts. So for example, one group said, we get discount at a hotel for our visiting speakers from other cities. And the more groups that pull together, the more discounts we can get. Same for printing discounts, etc. And I spoke about cross-promotion. Reciprocal free tickets is something I'm really keen to get established. Now, Edinburgh Skeptics have free events, but for example, the Speakeasy one, I've already done a trade for the graphic designer for that. He gave his services in exchange for 2 free tickets and a free beer at the event. It's tax deductible and all sorts of things. If you have an event with free tickets, by all means share them with other groups so that it's great. It's really great for your committee or your organisers or for yourself because it keeps morale higher, which I'll talk a little bit about soon. But it also means that you can tweet someone else's event and vouch for it. For example, I went to some, free events for Science Saturday at the National Museum and tweeted it from the Edinburgh Skeptics account. That got several retweets and we got some photos out there. Being on social media, I'll talk about later, it's not all about promoting your stuff, it's about creating engaging content that people are interested in. It's not just promoting your stuff, share, really, really share. Now, I'm going to give you guys about a minute to chat to the people around you and talk about what's something that you could offer or something that you're looking for that you could think someone around you could offer you. So introduce yourselves, say where you're from to the people around you, and I'll give you 1 minute. Okay. All right. I feel really, really bad stopping you, but I feel like you guys are getting along so well that you could go on for half an hour. Does anyone have anything they'd like to volunteer that they learned that could be really interesting for them in the future? Anyone at all? It's really difficult because that's about networking. It's one-on-one. I can't share everything that I've set up with other groups. But I certainly, for example, Brian over here, where are you from?
Glasgow.
Okay. What organisation? What organisation?
Glasgow Skeptics.
Okay, and can you describe the relationship you have with Edinburgh Skeptics? I'm putting you on the spot, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just saying here to Don that I'm kind of similar, sort of a counterpart to what you do across in Glasgow, and I took over the organisation not that long ago, and really didn't know what I was doing, so had to try and make contact with people like David and basically squeeze information out of them and steal all of their speakers. We've had David come across and speakers as well, actually, and recommend other people for us. So it's been very fruitful so far. Long may it continue.
Absolutely. So your counterparts in other cities or countries can be really great resources. Some of the things I've shared with Brian is a number of our spreadsheets, some of our forms, just to help him get his streamline set up to become more efficient and less panicked. When you take over a group, it can be quite scary, especially if you don't have an amount of time to shadow someone. Another counterpart from another Skeptics group, I think it was up in Dundee, unfortunately had to cancel this morning, and we try to maintain good relationships with other Skeptics groups throughout the entire UK, and there's actually a network of Skeptics groups organisers in the UK, and we do share things like recommended speakers or things to do with what it's like to run a group. Now, before I move on from networking to your event and where you can list it, does anyone have anything they wanted to throw in about networking? Nope, good. So, who here uses Meetup just personally for their personal self? Okay, so about half. Who uses it for organising events and publishing them? Okay, just a few. So Meetup is a really great place. This is my 4th country now, and it's been really great for me to meet up with people. I'm not interested in interacting with people on Facebook or online in any way. I want to go to book clubs and movie nights and science events. And Meetup is a really great site that's very active here in the UK. Some of the countries I've been not so active, but really huge here. So you can, I don't know what the price is, but it's gone up. It's something like £12 a month, or it used to be. Whatever it is, it certainly gets in more people than any other place to Edinburgh Skeptics, even though we have regulars. So you put your event up there, you tell it what type of group you are. So for us, we're science engagement. If people are interested in learning about psychics, it's not going to come up as a recommended group for them. But if they're interested in astronomy, it might. So when you join, here's some groups you might be interested within 20 miles of your area. So that's been really great. And when people join our group, they can opt to receive an email when an event goes live, and a reminder email as well, and a lot of people rely on those. So if I'm a bit late putting an event on Meetup, they might contact me and say, I haven't received an email about an event. That would be why. We also put things on Facebook, and we put things on our Facebook group. Who here can tell me the difference between a Facebook group and a Facebook page? I see a few faces going, oh God. Yep. Yeah, so a Facebook group is more for a group. It's for membership. And generally people have notifications turned on whenever something is posted to that. You also have the ability to invite every member of a group to an event. Now that definitely works for groups under the size of 500, and I'll find out when we hit 501 whether or not it'll keep going up to 1,000. Every year Facebook changed things, much to my frustration. So we don't put events on our Facebook page because we have less than 500 people in our group, but it's very inclusive. Things we put on our page might come up as a suggested post for people. So we post a post about our event which links to our Facebook group's event. It's a little bit confusing. Here's how I do it. I put it on a spreadsheet and I say, have I created an event in the group and invited everyone? Yes. Then I say, have I created a post on our page to just linking to it to tell people about it. On the page, I can get analytics data. I can tell how many people saw it. And that would be called your reach. I can see how many people clicked or commented on it. That would be called your engagement. Learn the jargon. If you see something you don't know, it's just a Google search away. And I'm going to talk more about analytics soon. I can schedule posts on my Facebook page within Facebook. Now, on Twitter and Facebook and other sites, I can actually schedule things using a third-party service called Hootsuite. That's hoot as in a owl going hoot hoot, suite. Hootsuite. I schedule my tweets, my Facebook group posts, and my Facebook page posts through this one site. It is free if you connect less than 3 services. So for me, Facebook page, Facebook group, and Twitter, that's my 3. I can get rid of one of them and do it for my personal self, and that's what I've actually done. So people think I'm actually online posting something. No, I thought it would be interesting a week ago, and I wanted to pretend like I'm still online. I highly recommend Hootsuite. Now, Edinburgh Skeptics have traditionally put our events on Facebook and Meetup. And I've started putting things on Eventbrite. Again, Eventbrite is free if your event is free. Ours are. We are run by donations at the end of our events. The great thing about Eventbrite is people who have gone to a similar event, and you create tags for your event, so similar to your science event, they will see at the bottom of their Eventbrite things, suggested events. And when they receive their ticket by email, as well as their reminder email a day before your event, suggested events in your city. And I can see for the Speakeasy event that I've already sold some tickets because people have come to it through that. Again, keep a track of where things come from so you can see whether or not you're getting a return on your time or money investment. If you're finding one of the things doesn't work, nothing I say is necessarily gospel, so by all means check it and find out what's working for you and what's not working for you. Another great site to list on is The List, and you may have seen things on The List. You just go to The List and you create an account, it's free, and you basically do the same as you've done on Eventbrite, Facebook, and Meetup, copy and paste your event onto there. And do the same on a fourth site, it's called Line Up Now. Who's heard of Line Up Now? Who's heard of Wow 24/7? Yeah, who's heard of The Scotsman? Line Up Now has how many? 270 titles across the entire UK that it will automatically list in if you put your thing on there. So it's like a network of online and print publications. So go to Line Up Now, create an account, put your event there, and I know for a fact that our science events are showing up for people who are interested in science on Wow 24/7 and The Scotsman. And you can email The Skinny, which is that print magazine. You need to get in there by their print deadline. And I'm going to email everyone who attended their email address. If you want to write it down, it is listings@theskinny.co.uk. Listings@theskinny.co.uk. So you email them, this is our event, and they'll hopefully put that up or in their print thing. Now, press releases. I'll talk about them later, actually. Before I move on from where... Yeah, Brian.
With all these different sources, it seems like Meetup's the only one you're actually paying for.
I agree.
Is £12 a month seems a little bit steep. Is it worth it?
In the case of Edinburgh Skeptics, absolutely. We get more people join it than any other source. And at the beginning of many of my events, and I didn't do it today, but I probably should have, I say, and if you've been to an Edinburgh Skeptics event, you might have seen this, I come up and say, while people are filing in slowly, I don't need everyone yet, just to kill some time, hands up, actually I'll do it now, who came here because of the newsletter that Sarah sent out? Okay. Okay, Sarah, who came here because of me, because I sent them an email? I sent 30 people an email. Okay, Sarah, where else did you... do you think people might have... Don't tell us.
Did we tweet about it? We tweeted
Twitter? Who found out about it from Twitter? 2 people?
I also sent it around some less formal university email lists.
Okay, less formal. Okay, another 2 people. Okay, anything else? How else did people find out about tonight?
Word of mouth.
Excellent. Anything else?
Eventbrite.
Eventbrite. Okay, anything else? Cool. So At the beginning of most Edinburgh Skeptics events, I do that. I say who found out about it from our email newsletter, our Facebook group, Meetup, Eventbrite, through me appearing in their dreams, an apparition in their sleep. Or people who found out because they're a friend of mine, because I talk about the things I organise. And I keep track of that. And I've sort of determined for Edinburgh Skeptics, our email newsletter really isn't worth the time investment. So I've decreased that from monthly to quarterly, which is a great time saver for me. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add about where they list their events? I'll go to the back first. Sorry.
Can I just ask you a question,
Yeah.
sorry? How much time do you spend inputting data into your spreadsheet?
So once I've set up the system, and you can see it. Do I have it here? So if you have a look down the bottom, unfortunately it's all yellow. It is normally color-coded. That thing starting with that bottom, I don't know, like quarter, I've got cinema. So, marketing tracking spreadsheet. So the first one's cinema. So Edinburgh Skeptics do 3 events: the cinema, the underground discussion group, and SITP is Skeptics in the Pub, our talks. So I've got the host, or in the case of a Skeptics in the Pub talk, Heather Pentler is our speaker. And the name of the event, in the case of the movie, it's Chocolat. In the case of Heather Pentler, it's How Altmed Tried to Kill Me. For the information I put into the event on Meetup, Facebook, Eventbrite, etc., I need to know the title of the event and the details of the talk and about me section of the speaker. So I copy and paste that into all of those. And you can see at the top, I've got Edinburgh Skeptics Meetup. I put it in Meetup. I put it in Thinking Aloud, another Meetup group, which allows you, anyone here, to put their event on that group. And it's for just, it's not a proper group. There's no leader or anything. Anyone can put a thought-based, a science-based, an interesting talk on that group. Everyone join Thinking Aloud and start populating that so I can find out about your events, because right now I'm not finding out about a lot. Our Facebook group, did I post a link on the Facebook page? Did I tweet about it? Now, I generally schedule my tweets. I schedule 2. I schedule one probably at the moment the event goes live, and one a few days before the event saying, hey, we've got an event in a few days. Same for the Facebook page. I schedule those in Hootsuite. I create the Eventbrite event. I create the event on the list and line up now. I'm not going to lie to you. For the Science Festival, I've got 8 events and I've got more than 10 marketing activities per thing. I've got 80 things to do. And I managed to wrangle 2 other people in to help me and train them up, because it is quite time consuming. And I'm in the process, now that I've added a few of these things recently, and gathering data over a period of time to find out how much time I get. I think the first time I did it, it took me an hour. By the 3rd time I did it, it was significantly less.
Just in terms of keeping track of who you spoke to, what you spoke to them about, etc.
Do it when you speak to the person. Don't fill it in at the end of the week or...
No, but if you come back from an event like this where you've met 30 people, how long does it take you then to kind of log?
I generally don't do big events and then type in a lot of people. For example, I already know probably half a dozen people here, but if it's in your brain, great, jot it in, spend half an hour, dedicate that time to it. And as long as it's part of your procedure. So and I'll mention this again later, part of social media work is don't make it a chore, make it part of your procedure. And I have been known actually, if I added you on Facebook or to my Gmail address book right now, I'd actually write your name and then in brackets where I know you from. It could be as simple as that. And if I have time, I'll jot in a few notes. We're not used to doing that, and I don't expect you to keep track of 2,000 people, but I've done it for a few people. It's up to you how much effort you want to spend. I don't actually spend that much time doing it, but I need to do it for Edinburgh Skeptics because I'm part of a committee of 6 people, and we need to know who spoke to whom, and I need to pass on that information to someone else. Absolutely. So I need to be professional and also be aware that the person I'm writing about might find out about it too. So anyone who's ever heard any stories, I know someone in a bank who was reading the notes of a client, and that had to be erased from the system because under the Data Protection Act in Australia, or Freedom of Information in the UK, clients can find out about everything that's written about them. So do be professional. And only write down nice things about them. Sorry, did I answer your question? Yeah, great. Dawn, you put up your hand. Did you?
Oh yeah, LinkedIn. So I don't use LinkedIn in this for events and things. I know lots of people who do.
I'm going to experiment with it. I haven't used it myself. I really should. Thank you. Does anyone use LinkedIn or know of anyone? Yep. How have you found it?
I use it to kind of like self-promotion, but not in an obnoxious way. I hope not, I don't think. If I just have like something that's been published or in a portfolio sample or have an event going on, then I'll just output it to my list or tag it to like the event page or something. And I think people, it kind of guides people on how LinkedIn should be used. A lot of people are using it as a Facebook kind of social media, and it's really not meant for that. So I've seen other people do it as well, especially if they are writing articles that are professionally minded, if they have an event, if they have something going on in their professional life that they just want to, rightfully promote for themselves. It's been used quite nicely.
Sorry, someone else pull up. Sorry.
Yeah, I use LinkedIn now. I'm retired, really to sort of keep in contact with sort of, former sort of colleagues to really let them know I'm still alive.
Okay.
I use it as an address book, so instead of taking back lots of business cards from an event and scribbling on the back of them who people were and where I met them, I just link in with them.
Excellent.
I had a question about LinkedIn. When I joined it, you were only supposed to add people that you actually knew in real life.
You can get around that.
Is that true or not? Because
Just
I get
say
so much
that you know them.
random. But should you? Or people be like, why the hell? Because I actually reject people if I've never met them.
I tend to accept them on LinkedIn if I can see from what I can see of their profile that they are vaguely in my field of interest. And I have quite a few LinkedIn connections that I've never met in real life, but I would never do that on Facebook. So I tend to be a bit more inclusive on LinkedIn than I would be on Facebook. But there are people that are still sitting there in my thing, like sort of psychics and stuff. I'm not going to accept their invitation.
I find LinkedIn good for finding out where people are working in their career, especially within the science community. But I will reject people I don't know usually, or I'll accept and go, hey, how do I know you? And I've received a couple messages back saying, oh, I thought you might be an interesting person to know for this work or something like that. Now it's 5:20 and I really want to not keep you for too long. I want to get you guys talking to each other. So I'm just going to skip ahead to some website tips. So one of the things is you want to keep people on your website. The more likely, the longer they're there, the more likely they're going to be learning about you. So we integrate some services into our website. We've got a WordPress-based website that grabs our events from Meetup and integrates them into our website so people can find out about our events without having to leave it. It also means I don't have to update my website. I have enough work doing Meetup, Facebook, Eventbrite, putting that event everywhere. Now, I have found about one service that will automatically, like you do one thing, it will copy across to another site and another site and another site. It is called Zapier, and there's a couple other competitors, but Facebook are shunning them, so I can mirror my Meetup and Eventbrite event, but that's it, so it's not really worth it. If anyone knows of another service that can do that, because I'd like to only do the work once. Nope, okay.
Well, I have a question.
Yep.
I recently heard somebody who put on a festival or had some sort of similar events that there was this program that could take a spreadsheet and she would just input all that information on the spreadsheet and then it would update her website.
So you can do that with Zapier. Either feed it a spreadsheet or just update a Google Drive spreadsheet and it will create an event for you on Meetup and or Eventbrite. But they're the only two that are playing with it.
But does it actually add content to a web page?
There are various ways you can add content to a website, and yeah.
You can have that. You can have a code designed for your particular website to do that. Okay. It's not a general thing, but it's for your website. We had that before. Okay.
Edinburgh Skeptics used to have reviews of our fringe shows from trusted members, such as Andy here. And he could email a special email address with his review, and that would become a post on our website. So you can do things automatically by email too. Okay, I'm just going to quickly go through the jobs that we have for our events because we do run 66 of them. And we need to have a well-oiled machine, and we're going to pretend like everything's going really well. We have a speaker acquirer, and what that person does is they have an embedded form on our website. So let's say I would like Ali to give a talk for us. I think, Ali, you are lined up to do a talk for us at some point later this year. That's okay. That's up to Stephen. So we've got one person whose job it is to organise events for our monthly events. We've got one person doing the 23 Fringe Nights, and I'm organising the Science Festival. So, Ali, have you had a look at the form yet?
No.
Okay, maybe it's not been sent to you. Basically, all it is Ali puts in his information, uploads a photo of himself, or says he'll email it later, his details, his website, he consents or says he doesn't want to be in our podcast, and then we get that as both a spreadsheet and a document in our Google Drive. From that, we can easily copy and paste that into Meetup, etc., and we can also keep track of who's done what. And I have not included that here, but I can happily share with you guys our form templates. So if you would like to run some events, you can just copy our form, either get inspiration and recreate it, or use Google Forms and just get our template. We also do this, yep?
Ever have any problems having your speakers fill it? People don't like filling in forms.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the time it's not necessarily 100% necessary, especially if we had the speaker before. I might say just actually fill in this one field on it and be done, or just email me and I'll look after it for you. But in the case of Fringe, we have 23 speakers. We have 23 nights. At least 2 of those nights are variety nights with 4 or 5 speakers each. So we've got so much to keep track of. At least we need to put it into a spreadsheet. By having the speaker fill out a form, it's automatically in a spreadsheet for us. Now, so we have the speaker acquirer. And you can see our form on our website. If you go to our Ed Skeptics About Us section under Speakers Charter page, I will email you all a link later anyway. We also have a speaker liaison to meet the speaker on the night. They are to meet them wherever. If they're coming from somewhere else, I mean, I've met someone at the, both train station and airport here in Edinburgh. We dine them. This is especially important during the Fringe so that they come an hour and a half early so that if there's any problems, we have them and they can't get away. We've had one show where the person showed up what happened was they went to the show in the same venue just before they were supposed to be on. And so we were running around trying to find them, trying to phone them. Turned out they were in the venue already. So meet them nice and early, take them out for a meal. The speaker liaison also keeps them happy. They are the person in charge of getting them drinks while they're setting up so that the stage manager and tech person can focus on what they're doing and escort the person after the event and look after them afterwards with drinks, etc. We have ushers and ticketing staff, or volunteers, tech person and floor manager. If we can get 2 people, that's great. But we do have extra requirements. We're starting to record video from our talks, and we also have our podcast. And you can listen to many of our talks at edskeptics.co.uk. We also have the marketing person, although I'm currently doing my master's, so I've outsourced that and trained some people. And we have a designated drinker, and that person encourages people to hang around the venue afterwards and foster a community. So keep people wanting to come to our events. They're not just coming for the talks, but also to meet other like-minded people. And you need someone with a strong liver for that. Treat your committee well. So get them meals and drinks. Unfortunately, a lot of groups only break even, if that. I'm trying to organise freebies and reciprocal agreements with other groups. So, for example, if you have a paid talk with tickets, we'll give you tickets if you give us tickets, and everyone's happy. But I went back a bit there. Okay, so your website. Keep people there, integrate stuff on your website so you don't have to update it. Now your landing page, that first front page, what do you want on there? A lot of events-based organisations will want their next events on there. You should also have a press page on your website. I'll talk about press releases soon, but if you're a news writer, a journalist, and you want to have some photos for your piece, there's nothing worse than having low resolution images, or if there are high resolution images, you've got a small sample or they're mislabeled. So have everything, good choice of images, high quality images, high resolution, and make sure the file names are also correct. Not just the caption, the file name. So when they download it, they're not confused in their massive downloads folder which file is which. And make sure they're not mislabeled especially. Who here looks at the analytics for their website? Excellent. Does anyone want to volunteer something interesting they've learnt about their website? Maybe a page some people spend a lot more time on? Or, yeah?
People spend most time on pictures, actually.
Okay.
More than substance. So.
Anyone else?
People were visiting profiles, as in pages about people rather than pages about projects, and the news page was the least visited.
Okay.
I'm probably going to bet the most time on.
There you go. So, so analytics is extremely important also for bug checking. So we found out when I came on board that we had a plugin on WordPress that would make the web page load really quick in Internet Explorer, but Chrome would slow down to, I think, 16 seconds to load our homepage. And we discovered that and could disable that plugin. We also found out that people are more interested in certain things, so we moved those to front and center in our site. Some pages never got any visiting, so I actually deleted them. There's nothing worse than a cluttered website with lots of links. Keep it to what people are actually going to visit. Before I move on from the website to social media, does anyone have anything they wanted to add? Something about their website? Yep.
I don't have a question about the website. It's more about the audience that you might expect. Do you want me to hold that one?
No, absolutely.
Okay, so you're doing an event and you want X amount of people to be there and X amount of people have signed up. In your experience, how do you balance the actual figures who have signed up with the people that are going to come? Is the first part of the question. The second part is about social media and the most efficient use of social media to get people who are in your area to turn up to that event, right? So I guess it's getting
Yes.
the audience in again, yeah?
Okay. Second question I'll answer in a second with the next content. But first, about the people who show up. So in Perth, for Perth Skeptics, we would keep a spreadsheet with how many people RSVP'd on Facebook, how many people RSVP'd on Meetup. And then we would cross-reference those because some people will RSVP on both. And then we're going to keep a track of what the attendance was. And I think in summer, we would find we'd actually get more people showed up than RSVP'd during just the hottest couple months. And the rest of the year, sometimes it could be as low as half. Usually it was 2/3 attendance. So track it. At Edinburgh Skeptics, because we're aware that the Skeptics movement or the free thought movement has a reputation for being a group for white men, especially older men, well, Edinburgh Skeptics is really lucky in that we don't really have that problem. Speaking to other groups around the country, they do. So we make a point of not only keeping track of the gender divide in our audience, and keeping in mind we have 3 different types of events. So we've got the talks, the cinema, and the discussion group. Our last discussion group was on eugenics and sperm banks. We had only 1 girl show up. And I realised afterwards I should have totally mentioned egg donation in the title of the event because that probably is why. And that looked really bad for me because that was my event. So keep a track of that as well. So yeah, keep a list, a spreadsheet. I love spreadsheets. And if I can graph it, I'm happy. And see what you're doing right, see what you're doing wrong, and revisit it afterwards. A lot of people think marketing is plan it, execute it. No, it's plan it, execute it, monitor it, and adjust it. And that's probably the biggest thing that I learned, certainly early on when I was studying. Social media. I mentioned earlier, it's not free. It takes a massive time investment. Make it part of your daily activity or your weekly activity so it's not a chore. Make it a habit. And engage all the time. So not just when, hey, I've got an event coming up, or everyone listen to me, I did something really great today. Mention this group did that, I went to this event, you should really go to it. Create content which people are going to get something out of it. I see a lot of businesses that want me to like them, and I look at their page and I think, why? Their posts are firstly rare, and I don't see anything other than them promoting themselves because they want to sell something. I'd rather have interesting content. A really good example of probably the best social media person from the last Fringe was Dan Simpson. And he was a poet. His show was called Nerdsmith. I see several people nodding here because they enjoyed his show. No, or at least you know him. Okay. And he would post on Twitter every day a photo of something nerdy. So one of them was like a clock with a different symbol for approximate numbers, like for the 12 numbers around a clock. And one of them was our flyer because it had a pun in that. So just interesting content. And then he would mention other people's shows that he went to and enjoyed, and then that would work into a reciprocal thing when other people would retweet him and find out about him. Choose the appropriate platform. So obviously Pinterest is more for graphics things, Instagram for photos of your meal, etc. So I'll leave that up to you. Now, respond to journalists on Twitter. If a journalist or someone has covered something similar to your event, then why don't you message them and say, hey, I saw you went to that neuroscience event. I'm actually doing something really, really similar very soon, and I'd be delighted if you could come. A lot of journalists don't have time for email because it's constantly going off, especially during the Fringe, so they're often very approachable by direct message on Twitter. And if a journalist covers something of yours, thank them. Definitely thank them. Don't use Twitter abbreviations, use decent language, and push the public to talk about you, not just like you or follow you. So I ask questions sometimes in some of my social media posts. Or ask, are you going to this event? Or what would you do in this situation? For the Chimp on Trial event, I have found out that the British Science Association had this exact same event recently. And I'm selling tickets, so I'm appealing to people they didn't know about. I have given discounted tickets to the Zoological Society at Edinburgh University. That was one thing I did. I'm trying to get in contact with Edinburgh Zoo, find out about like-minded groups. So Edinburgh Skeptics have a monthly committee meeting, and for our upcoming events, we brainstorm not just tags for the events, because things like Eventbrite have an option for you to put in tags, but also we brainstorm groups that we either know of or think might exist who might be interested in it. Edinburgh Skeptics at one of the fringes had a person who knitted something mathematically, like, can you explain, please?
Well, I think most people probably know her. Julia is Haggis Maths on Twitter, but she works in maths outreach, but she's also a key knitter and has knitted sort of various things, were sort of illustrations of mathematical concepts in knitting. And yeah, but we did get lots of people on there.
Knitting plus science. So in that Venn diagram, there aren't that many people, but you can certainly bring over people from the knitting side. If you tell the right people and they're that much into it, they will jump on a bus and they will come. They will fill a bus to come to your event. Elaine Liner, who I'm going to talk about in a moment, she works as a journalist and a reviewer at the Fringe, had an event a few fringes ago about knitting, not science-based, but she was covered in things like, well, firstly, the media, because it was interesting and quirky, but a knitting group that was outside of Edinburgh who chartered a bus to come into Edinburgh to go to her talk. So I keep a list of groups that might be interested in, and I've established a relationship, for example, the Zoological Society at Edinburgh University. So foster those relationships as well. Paid ads. Who pays for ads online? Okay. How have you found it?
It can be really good for places if you want to be geographically specific.
Okay.
It's come in useful a few times because of our Facebook groups. Big, we can't invite everybody, so sometimes a promoted post helps get a few more interactions in our way.
How do you promote it? What button do you press?
Depends whether I'm doing it through the page or the group. I usually alternate between the two because we've got different audience on either side.
Okay.
But I'm not spending much money, and I'm really just dabbling with it at the moment, experimenting.
I'm kind of the same. I'm really skeptical when it comes to online marketing. I'm a traditional business marketer. That's what my qualification was in. That's where my background is. It's what I like. And there are a lot of cowboys out there who say all sorts of things about online marketing. So I keep my budget at the moment low while I'm figuring it out. And yes, I do very much narrow down the geographic place. But if you're going to boost a post on a page, don't hit the boost button on the page. Go into the advertising settings to create the boosted post because it's going to give you more finely tuned settings. So don't just hit it's big, it's blue, it's very tempting. Don't click on that. Go into the more detailed version of that. Sarah?
So I did that a few times and didn't really notice much of an effect, but I was just doing it by general geographic area and interests. Then last couple of times I did it for people who like the page and their friends. And that seemed to get much more engagement. So
Excellent.
I don't know, it's just the type of content we advertise, but if I'm just general, advertising to completely disconnected people who might share those interests didn't work at all. But when it's to friends of friends, it seemed to work quite well.
I think if they've already liked your page and they're friends with people who like your page, then they've already liked your page. And I'm in the process of doing my own experiments. I think most people in here have a science background, so run experiments. And let me know, share your findings with other people. I tell Brian what works for us, and I'm really keen to do that for the rest of you. Now I'm aware I've got about 20 minutes left, but I only want to speak for a few more minutes and then let you talk to each other and meet each other. So I'm just going to quickly mention on press releases, Fringe Central has training. Fringe Central is only available to you if you have a Fringe show. However, you might have a friend with a Fringe show who might be willing to loan you their access badge, and you can find out when the training events are. I went to 4 this last Fringe. 2 were very much aimed at what I was looking for, and 2 were not very relevant to me. The 2 that I can recommend is a show by Elaine Liner, and it's called How to Be a Media Darling. And that is about press releases, how to write them, how to approach people, etc. And she does that every Fringe. Normally she charges a lot of money, but through the Fringe, if you're a Fringe performer, you get access to that. The other thing was a panel of people from Broadway Baby, 3 Weeks, etc. Panel of those editors who not only spoke a few minutes each, but were answering questions from the audience. Highly recommend those. Press releases, keep them short and snappy, and make your subject line, your header long. Include the pertinent information: who, what, when, the price. Strip your superlatives. Journalists are fed up of, it's amazing, it's fantastic, everything's amazing and fantastic. Pitch a story, not an announcement, not a general release, and target the audience of the journalist. So look at who that journalist generally writes to and target your journalist. We keep a database at Edinburgh Skeptics of places to send press releases to. Every year, Fringe Central sends it out to all Fringe performers, and we've culled out everything that's not relevant to us, and we have a narrow list of a very small fraction of that. Does anyone here send out press releases? Okay, have you found them effective in the current era?
Different audience, so I don't really have anything to add. They're completely different audiences.
Okay, that's fine. Dawn?
It's internal stuff, and the next press release was the same thing, and no, not really, but... Okay.
I mean, I went to the training thing and I've learned a lot. I highly recommend you go to those training events if you have the opportunity. But you don't have to just send to the press. Think outside the box. For example, if we have a speaker, we'll look at maybe their alumni magazine, hobby groups, their hometown paper. If they come from somewhere a bit remote, they have little Johnny, who now has his PhD, is performing in Edinburgh or something like that. And encourage your speakers to bring along their friends and family or colleagues. For the Fringe, I have been encouraged by those panels to send out 6 or 7 press releases for your show. One for like really far in advance, looking ahead, this is what I'm doing or we're doing. Coming soon would be your next one, followed by just launched. So if you're doing a full lineup, you would have at the very beginning, this has just started, followed by what people are saying about us, if you've got some coverage, whether it be professional media or some reviews from your attendees. And Meetup has the ability for people after your event not only to give a star rating, but to give a review of the event. And I highly encourage you not just to get your members and attendees engaging with you, but because that way you have a testimonial to draw on, and other people are going to see, oh, that's a great event. The last couple press releases would be last chance to see. And the last one would be at the end of Fringe, after Fringe, what's coming up next, or look out for us. Some of the spreadsheets Edinburgh Skeptics talk about, some of the spreadsheets Edinburgh Skeptics use. Well, we have a form for the speakers, which I mentioned already. We have a speaker satisfaction form that we send out with our thank you after their talk. And I have already gotten some very interesting feedback, and I've integrated changes into our processes that has allowed us to provide better service and better prepare our speakers for their expectations of what happens because of the feedback I have gotten. But I guess everyone almost in this room is probably British. I'm relatively new to this country, and I recently found out that if you've got a scale of 1 to 5, British people would rate the middle one as probably the lowest they're ever going to rate. Like, that's horrible if it's okay. Whereas I think Australians and Americans are probably a bit more honest and more likely to rate something as terrible. So you have to run things through those filters if you're Australian like me. I also am able to keep track of trends. So in addition to seeing, okay, for that one person, how did we handle the pre-event communication, I can find out overall over the last year, have we been getting better? And I've got 5 minutes worth of questions. I'll email everyone a link to that survey, so you can copy that. I keep a database of venues, a database of speakers, a database of the media list, which I mentioned earlier. I also keep that database of all of you. The first one I spoke about, similar groups. And I have a calendar with a list of events, and because we have so many, and what people's responsibilities are. So we've got all those responsibilities. We've got the tech person, the person meeting the person, what did I call that? Speaker liaison, the designated drinker. So people have to prepare their livers. And I also target on Facebook. So I think I'm not going to actually mention that. I really want to let you guys speak to me and to each other because I want to network and I want to set up some reciprocal stuff with Edinburgh Skeptics and learn a little bit about the other groups in Edinburgh so I can add you to my database. So, before I finish, does anyone have any questions for me?
You spoke earlier on about a tool you can use for timing when your social media posts go out. Now, for me, when I'm doing it, it's like, Jesus, I should have done this last week, I'm doing it now. So. But if I was better organised, what are the prime times?
During the panel of review places like Broadway Baby in 3 weeks at Fringe, they said that the peak times that they found through experimentation, because they track things on Hootsuite and Twitter, are 8 a.m., 8 a.m., I think it was midday, and 11 p.m. Those were the 3 times during Fringe. But then again, their audience are people who are going to Fringe shows, many of them are on holiday, etc. And when I look this up, I get conflicting results. Also, I'm not an online marketer, I don't specialise in that. I wish I could just give you a number.
Right. So can we say, just through personal experience and stuff, is try and hit the commute time. So people who are commuting, sitting on the bus, looking at their toilet, think about that. Think about who you're trying to reach and what you're doing at that time.
In the case of Fringe, those commute times are things like 11 p.m, which is probably why that works. And people are really 8 a.m, that's when it works. I don't have the stat here, but I actually wrote down the stat of when they said and how many clicks they'd get. Anyone else have any experience with their social media posts? What time is more effective?
Sort of similar, the commuting time, but also lunchtime, when people are kind of sitting at their desk. They don't want to be working, but they want to be at work.
Over there?
Like 7:45, 8 o'clock in the morning. A lot of people now, when they first wake up, they grab their phones to see what they missed in the world while sleeping.
I just wonder, I mean, I don't know very much about any of this, but in what sense do you need to take, like, international time zones? You wouldn't be like advertising or marketing that far, would you? Or would not really, no.
I mean, in the case of us, we're very much focused on the people who want to come to our group. Yeah. However, Hootsuite does have a tick box saying, schedule my post at whatever time Hootsuite calculates is going to get the best exposure.
In other countries?
Well,
You can
Or here?
I don't know if it will look at all your followers or not. Does anyone? Yeah.
So I also tweet to the United States, like Eastern Standard Time. So what I do is I'll schedule it for lunchtime around Britain, and that's like first thing in the morning in the States. Or if it's like, if I want to market to West Coast, then I'll schedule it for late night here, or like tea time around here, maybe after, depending on how late you eat. And then that will be an 8-hour difference. So I mean, you can do that. It depends on which country you're trying to get to. but usually you'll get one peak because there's 3 peaks in a day, right? So there's the morning, the lunch, and then the evening.
I think the reason partly why I ask is because as an academic nowadays we're getting a bit of kind of emphasis on impact and on metrics, and your social media kind of version, if you like, or whatever, is quite important. So if I'm doing an event, say I'm doing a talk, I want the world to know about it. Right? And
I have a question.
Yeah.
What do you what's your opinion on repurposing your tweets? So how I always look at it, Twitter is like commercials, like adverts on TV. If you miss it on that particular time, you're not going to see it again until maybe a 12 or 24-hour cycle. And so I know there was that hashtag for a while in case you missed it, but I am not above taking content I've already tweeted, changing the message and retweeting it again to get a different audience or a different section of my own audience. And I know some marketers frown upon that.
Unfortunately, I'm just going to have to say I don't know. I really don't specialize in online marketing. I'm very much things like entertainment industry, organizing the actual events, also medical industry. That's part of my background. And I've just started my master's in marketing. And I didn't do the online marketing for my choice. So I'm going to probably ask some of my classmates tomorrow if they can find out.
I would be interested in hearing people's opinions.
Does anyone have any more questions for the whole group or for me? Yep.
Is there any way that, so you're talking about tracking and analytics through a website, is there any way that you can actually organise that so you can know roughly what kind of demographics are hitting your website?
Do you use Google Analytics?
No, I use actually the internal one, the Squarespace one, but...
Okay. I highly recommend Google Analytics, not just because it's great, it's powerful, it seems to be sort of like the industry standard almost. I'm not qualified to actually say that, but we have plugged in our analytics to our newsletter running on MailChimp, and you can also integrate SurveyMonkey if you use that. We've plugged it into our website, and we're also using it on Eventbrite and Meetup. So I have all of the analytics in one place. And that's the strength of Google Analytics. We also use WordPress, so I have my internal ones there, and I have cross-referenced just to see if there's a discrepancy. Are they accurately reporting? And they seem to be. I'm not that skilled in Google Analytics, but I've been able to potter around enough to create a report with graphs that were in lovely colours to present at our committee meeting. And I learned some things. A professional in that field would be able to tell you do this, this, this. Fiddle about with that, and by all means, just run it. The great thing about Edinburgh Skeptics was I came in and they had already 5 years of analytics running in the background. They didn't know to activate it for Meetup, but they were running it on their website. So I could immediately come in and make those changes. You don't necessarily need someone with your group at that time who can work with it. Just leave it running in the background, and one day it might become very, very useful to someone in the future. Okay, before I stop talking, does anyone have anything else they wanted to? So look, I'm going to stop talking. I'll let Sarah wrap up. But thank you very much for coming. I will email you all a bunch of notes, including some of our forms, which you can copy.
Well, thank you so much. And as I say, we're not kicking you out, so if you are able to hang around, then please do. Thank you so much, David.
Thank you.